There we go. Hi, everyone. I'm Mary Birdsong, and I'm the program chair for Presque Isle Audubon. And we're very happy to have Julie Travaglini with us this evening. She's with the Allegheny Land Trust and has been there since 2016. She also, before becoming a member of becoming employed by the Allegheny Land Trust, she also served as the senior program facilitator for the outdoor classroom for almost 7 years, where she taught more than 5,000 preschool children the joys of nature, planned community events, and wrote curriculum. She is also a specialty discipline instructor for Pennsylvania. And she holds a BS in biology and a MS in teaching from Muskegon University. What state is that in?
Ohio.
So welcome to Julie, everyone. Welcome, Julie.
All right. Thank you, Mary, for that lovely introduction. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All about owls here. Slideshow from beginning. There we go. And I do have the subtitles turned on, so you will see those flash across your screen here along the bottom should anyone need subtitles today. But thank you all for spending your St. Patrick's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I forgot to put my green AL t-shirt on today. I should have thought better, but thank you for joining me on a Friday night to learn all about Pennsylvania's owls. Like Mary said, my name is Julie Travaglini, and I'm the Senior Director of Education and Curriculum for Allegheny Land Trust. If you don't know who ALT is or Allegheny Land Trust, that's okay. I'm going to tell you. We are a nationally accredited nonprofit organization located in Sewickley. And our entire mission is to preserve and conserve land for a wide range of reasons, mostly for scenic and recreation, but also to protect potential resiliency region areas. That didn't come out right, but we protect areas to protect them from climate resiliency issues. So we protect a lot of floodplains, a lot of steep hillsides, a lot of riparian areas. We even have an island. So we have about 3,800 acres of property in mostly Allegheny County, which is the county Pittsburgh is located in. We also have some slightly north in Butler and some slightly south in Washington counties. Now, ALT is 30 years old, but in 2016, my then boss and I helped start ALT's education department. So since 2016, we've seen probably 40 to 50,000 people through our education programs. We run about 150 to 200 events a year. Now, those events are everything from fee-for-service programs where we go out to daycares and libraries and do outreaches, to going out to schools and doing programming in the schools, to field trips, to mushroom walks, to teacher workshops, a wide range of programming. We have First Friday hikes, which every first Friday we take people out onto our properties and we do a different themed hike. Our next hike is actually going to be focused on wildflowers because one of our properties is a wildflower reserve. We do hikes on zebra swallowtails and pawpaws, on the effects of climate change on wildflowers, to using iNaturalist for the City Nature Challenge, and a huge range of different things. So if you want to learn more about Allegheny Land Trust and who we are and what we do, you can go to alleghenylandtrust.org. And if you add a /events to it, I'll put that in the chat. You can see all of our programs. Now, I do at least one webinar a month for folks. So there are some virtual programs for those of you too far away to come in person. We do have the virtual option, and I believe our next one is Spring Wild Edibles. So I'm going to be teaching you how to eat out of your backyard, essentially. But there's the link there. You can go and find our events and sign up for some webinars. We got all about fireflies, all about bees. We got Spring Wild Edibles. We got using iNaturalist. We have everything up through June, so there's plenty to choose from. All right, so hopping right into our topic today, what are owls? What makes an owl an owl? Owls are nocturnal, which means they come out at night, birds of prey. So that means they are predators. They are hunting animals to survive and to eat. They fill a niche occupied during the day by hawks. So essentially, not everything can be out at the same time. There's not enough out there to sustain both owls and hawks. So somebody had to adapt, and the owl adapted to be able to come out at night. And we'll talk about some of their cool adaptations next that allow them to be nocturnal. There's about 200 species of owls worldwide. Here in Pennsylvania, we only have 8 species. So not a ton of owls. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about all of them today because there's only 8. You can find owls all over the world, except on some islands, some really remote islands. They just didn't colonize there. And the same with Antarctica, too cold down there for owls. But we will see one owl that does prefer cold weather. Owls vary in size. Now, 10 pounds is the biggest owl. And you're going to say, well, that's not very big. But why are owls so light? Why is even the world's largest owl, which is over 2 feet tall, this thing is like toddler size, why is it only 10 pounds? Who knows? Why is our toddler sized owl only 10 pounds? Put it in the chat if anyone knows. What do birds have? I know everyone's quiet today. Birds have hollow bones. So a bird's bone is not dense and filled with marrow like ours is. They are hollow, and that's because flying is really, really, really energetically expensive. So any way they could lower the energy cost of flying, that's what they're doing. So having hollow bones reduces the energy requirement to fly, makes them lighter, makes flying easier. So that's why birds have hollow bones. So you've got our teeny tiny little owl, 1 ounce. A slice of bread is about 1 ounce. So think of like holding a slice of bread in your hand. That's about how much this owl weighs. He's 5 inches. A dollar bill is exactly 6 inches. So imagine a dollar bill. He is smaller than that. To our 2-foot big old eagle owl that's in that picture below. That is a big bird. Now, large groups of owls are called a parliament, and I always like to include what a group of an animal is called because there are some really crazy cool ones out there. Like if you didn't know, a group of rattlesnakes is called a Roomba, which I think is hilarious. So I always like to throw that little fun fact in there. Now, we called owls birds of prey, right? They are predators. They are actively hunting to be able to survive. Now, most birds of prey have some really similar adaptations. So we'll talk about those first. Now, if you look at an owl's feet, they have very, very sharp, huge talons. These talons are able to put over 300 pounds of pressure onto something. The average pressure in your tire is about 32. So think about that. Hundreds of pounds of pressure that an owl is able to exert with their sharp talons. Now, they're not only squeezing things with their talons because they're flying through the air, they're catching animals. They've got to be able to hold and grab onto an animal, especially if like it's a slippery fish or a slippery amphibian. That's why they've got to have so much grip strength, is to be able to hold on to their wiggly prey that's trying to get away from them, right? But they're not only doing that with their talons, they're also ripping and shredding. So they do use their talons to kind of stick a talon in there and cut something open. So they've got their really sharp, strong talons. They also have a curved beak. When I work with kids, I always ask them, can an owl go get a knife and fork and cut up its little mole into little bite-sized bits? No, they can't. So they've got to use that curved, hooked, sharp beak to be able to tear up their food. That's essentially their knife and fork. So a couple really cool adaptations of birds of prey, those talons and that beak. Now, owls have way cooler adaptations than that. So looking at an owl, we can start at the top and work our way down. So on this owl here, you can see he's got 2 little feather tufts. Now those aren't ears, and not all owls have those. Those are little feather tufts. Scientists believe that those tufts do direct some sound into the owl's ears. Owls have 2 holes in the sides of their head that that are their ears, but they don't have perfectly symmetrical ears like most people do. They've got 1 hole here, and 1 hole is slightly off. So their ears are asymmetrical because that allows them to hear at a slightly different moment. So the sound hits this ear 1 second, and like milliseconds later, it will hit in the second spot. that tiny little millisecond difference is enough for an owl to be able to say, my prey is right there, and be able to triangulate essentially where their prey is. Looking at their eyes, owls cannot move their eyes in their socket, so they can't go like this. An owl can't do that. If an owl wants to look at something, it can't move its eyes, it has to move its entire head. Its whole head has to move with its eyes. Now, if it's moving its head so much to look around, it's got to have a really special neck. So most mammals and most birds have 7 vertebrae in their neck. This goes for whales, giraffes, humans, dogs, 7 vertebrae, 7. But an owl has 14. Doubling their neck vertebrae allows them to rotate their head way farther than we can. On a good day, and if you're really young, you can turn your head about 180 degrees. That's from your right shoulder to your left, or your left to your right. But an owl can turn its head 270 degrees. That is 3/4 of the way around. So they could be looking here, they start over their left shoulder, and they can eventually look over their right shoulder in that direction, 3/4 of the way around. Crazy cool stuff. Owls also have incredible night vision. Now we've got 2 types of things in our eyes that help us to see, rods and cones. Cones help us to see color. Rods help us detect light. So what do you think an owl has more of, rods or cones? Anyone want to guess what an owl has more of in their eyes, rods or cones? Put it in the chat if you want to guess if they've got more rods or cones. Rods, yeah. So an owl has very few cones in their eyes because they're coming out at night. They don't really need to see color. Most things at night are in a very similar color spectrum. They're not looking at reds and blues and yellows. They're looking at very muted colors. So they don't have a ton of cones, but they've got lots of rods. And those rods help light filter into the owl's eyes, and they can see really, really well in the dark because the rods are letting in every fraction of light to help that owl see. I don't think we touched on this, but owls actually have incredible eyesight and incredible hearing. An owl can hear a mouse moving in the grass a football field away. Wild, a football field away. That's some really crazy cool stuff. So we've got asymmetrical ears, eyes fixed in the head, sharp beak for tearing stuff up, talons for grasping prey, and they've also got some other really cool adaptations too. But those are like the coolest ones in my mind. Right. So owls have really special feathers too. That's another great adaptation. Owls aren't really colorful, right? We don't see any bright, colorful owls like we see songbirds or we see butterflies. Owls tend to be more muted colors, and that helps them to camouflage. So they're coming out when the world is kind of muted in color, a little dusky, it's dark. So they, excuse me, they want to blend in. So owls are going to have brown, black, gray, white, cream, tan, all of those kind of colors of feathers. You can see on the left there, we've got a little screech owl blending in to a tree. Now, if you walked and you were going for a walk, you would walk right by that most likely and not even notice that little screech owl. And that's exactly what he wants to happen. Who knows how many owls we've probably walked by in our life just because they blend in perfectly, and especially because they're kind of chill and hanging out, doing owl stuff, napping during the day. They're quiet and they're not moving much. So you're going to walk right past them. And that's the whole goal. Owls have really broad wings with serrated edges, almost kind of like, think of the serrations on your comb. Those serrations help break up the air over the wing. That one reduces turbulence, so the owl's not like, whoa, kind of bouncing around when he's flying. And 2, that reduces the sound as well. That's how owls became known as silent flyers. So during the and bustle, things are moving, things are grooving, stuff is happening, it's a little loud. At nighttime, everything is much calmer and quieter. If the owl was a noisy flyer, he wouldn't be able to sneak up on his prey. So he's got to be quiet to be able to sneak up on all those animals that are out just roaming around at night. to be able to snatch something. So he's got to be a quiet flyer. Oops, my mouse doesn't want to work. There we go. Owlets are probably the only cute baby birds. I will say that. I'm not a fan of baby birds. They're like little goo balls with giant eyeballs. Not a fan, but baby owls are actually adorable. Here's some photos of baby owls called owlets. Now, owls are not nest builders. They are lazy. There's not a single species of owl in the world that builds a nest. Owls will inhabit the nests of crows or hawks or other larger birds. They'll also rest in or nest in snags of trees. And a tree snag is exactly what you see there on the top right photo. A snag is essentially a dead tree that's kind of fallen over and there's a little hollow bit in it. They will nest down in that little hollow bit of a tree. Now that's really beneficial because they are protected by the tree. So they don't have a nest hanging out in the elements. They've got their nest down deep in the tree where it's slightly more protected, and those owlets can grow up in a little bit safer of an environment. Now, owls are some of the earliest nesters. They will lay eggs in late winter. So owls have already mated and nested at this point. The owlets are grown up, and there's a benefit to that. And the benefit is that they are able to hunt for themselves by the time all the other animals that are their prey are having babies. So as their prey are having babies, they're already ready to go. They're ready to hunt. So these guys are able to take advantage of the young newborn prey items and hunt a little easier until they grow up. So a pretty interesting technique. You're nesting earlier when there's maybe not quite as much food ready for you, but your owlets are then in turn ready earlier, and they can go out and hunt on their own when it's prime time for all those prey and all those little mice having babies. Prime time for those owlets to go hunting. Now, owls, you can get owl boxes, those pre-made boxes. I will say I've had an owl box for 5 years and I've never even heard an owl in my neighborhood. You have to be really patient with those boxes because they've got to be the right wood, in the right location, facing the right direction, the right height from the ground. They've got to be in the right habitat. So like the stars have to align for those boxes to attract the right animal to them. My owl box gets jumping spiders, and I get house sparrows, or little junk birds, as they call them. Not that any bird is junk to the Audubon Society, but birds you don't necessarily want nesting there. And I also get bees will like to nest in there. So I don't get any owls. And that goes, I've tried a wide range of boxes. I've pretty much given up on them. It even took like 3 years for me to get mason bees in my mason bee box, but that happened, so there's hope. But if you're going to do those boxes, you've got to do them right, and you've got to put them in the right places, or otherwise you're never going to get those birds. So patience and knowledge is key if you're going to do that. All right, so that's a little overview of owls and how cool they are. Now we've got 8 species of owl in Pennsylvania. 7 are breeding residents, so they're here year round. Only one of these creatures, one of these owls, he spends his or her winters here, but is not here the rest of the year. Which owl on this list is only a winter visitor? Who is it? Put it in the chat. Which owl on the list is our winter visitor? Snowy. Yeah, you got it. It's our friend, the snowy owl. They are lovely, lovely creatures. But we've got 8 species: the great horned owl, the barred owl, the barn owl, northern saw-whet, long-eared, short-eared screech, and snowy. So we'll start. We're going to talk a little bit about each one. Eastern screech owl, one of our more common species. There's 21 total species. We've got the eastern screech owl. So there's, a western and 19 other varieties of screech owl. Only in the Americas. So no eastern hemisphere screech owls. They're all over here in the West. Permanent Pennsylvania resident. They're here year round. They breed here. They mate here. They don't go anywhere. 7 to 10 inches tall, so they're just slightly larger than a dollar bill, so they're pretty small. This, however, is not our smallest owl. We will see our smallest owl here in a bit. 18 to 24-inch wingspan. This is our second smallest owl. They weigh in at about half a pound. Not big at all. These guys like semi-open landscape, so you will find them in woodlands and in trees, but they kind of like to be along the edge where the forest meets the like a meadow area. They kind of like to have that mix. They are really opportunistic. Most owls are opportunistic, where they will prey on anything they can catch and fit in their mouth. So they will prey on small mammals, small songbirds, insects even. They'll scoop an earthworm off the ground if it's laying there. Reptiles, lizards, salamanders. If they can catch it, they're going to eat it. And that's generally the attitude of most owls, not picky creatures. You don't get to be around for millions of years and be a picky eater, right? That's what we've learned over the years, is picky eaters don't fare very well. These guys are monogamous, so they have one partner and both partners take care of the babies, which is kind of a rarity in the natural world. It's not often that both take care of the young. These guys have a kind of woo call. You guys are going to get to hear all my owl calls. Get excited because they're fantastic. And by fantastic, I mean they are like not good, but you'll all get to hear them and enjoy them anyway. So they have a kind of a whinny call. I bet you've heard it. These guys are everywhere. Take a walk at dusk in the woods and you're probably going to hear an eastern screech owl. And they do have, as you see in that picture, 2 color phases, red and gray. I've only ever seen the gray. I've never seen a red out and about, but some people I know have only seen the red. So I think it is really just luck of the draw, what you're going to get, what owl color you're going to see. Our great horned owls, we went from our second smallest owl to our largest owl by size. So this is our largest owl in terms of height, but not our largest owl in terms of weight. We've got another owl that has to be heavier, and we will talk about him. This is one of the most widespread owl all across the Americas. So the great horned owl has a huge, huge range from Central and South America all the way up into, Alaska and Canada. They're here year round, about 2 feet tall, so like toddler size. This is another fairly large owl, about a 3 to 5 foot wingspan. So our largest great horned owls, I'm 5'2", so our largest great horned owl, could almost, if I laid down on the ground, wing to wing, it would be almost my height. And they're about 3 pounds. So again, largest owl by height, but not by weight. These guys, again, opportunistic. However, they will eat screech owls. They will eat other owls. So if you're ever out and about calling owls, don't call a screech owl and then try to call a great horned owl, because you're like calling them into the dinner table, essentially. You don't want to do that. These are your owls that are going to nest super duper early. They've already got owlets at this point. The owlets are growing. They probably have feathers at this point too. These guys make your typical hoo 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 whoo, whoo, whoo call. And these guys are, again, some of the ones that can apply that 300 pounds per square inch of pressure with their talons. Holy cow, that's pretty crazy. Think about that guy gripping your arm. Wouldn't want him holding my arm. A barred owl. This is my favorite. This is my favorite owl. And I think it's my favorite owl because I had a really cool experience. My partner and I, we are trying to visit all of the national parks, and we were in Congaree National Park in South Carolina, and we had gotten maybe 5 feet down the trail, and a barred owl just swooped right in front of us and then sat on a tree branch, and we were able to sit, like we had just gotten there. We did not get far at all. And we were able to sit and watch this barred owl for, gosh, probably 20 minutes while he swooped around. And it was just like one of the coolest things to be able to get to experience that owl like for so long up close. It was really cool. So I think that's why they're kind of my favorite. And they're also beautiful. Look at them. They have like that heart-shaped face. They're the only owl in Pennsylvania that has brown eyes. So Most owls have colorful eyes, or at least kind of yellowy, orangey, but these guys are solid dark brown, so it almost looks like one big pupil in their eyeballs. About the same. He's a little bit shorter than the great horned owl, not by too much. His wingspan's about 3.5, 4 feet. He's our second largest, so he's not too far off from our great horned owl. You'll notice though, no ear tufts. Our great horned owl has those ear tufts. He's about 2 pounds, so he's a solid pound lighter than our great horned owl. These guys love dense forests and love to nest in tree cavities, so you're going to see them again in forested areas, swooping down and around and grabbing little forest creatures off the ground. They have, this is a good mnemonic for this, who cooks for you too? Like that's the rhythm of their hoot. So it's who cooks for you? Who cooks for you too? Don't you love my owl calls? I have a machine that makes the sound of the owls, but I just got a new computer and it has some sort of sound canceling on it, and it thinks that's noise. So I hold it right up to the microphone and no one hears anything. It's wild, but I don't know how to fix it. But yeah, it cancels out my noise. It thinks it's noise. Sue says you had Eastern screech owl's nest for 2 years in a flicker nesting box. Wow, I'm jealous. I don't get anything cool like that. I live like in the heart of suburbia, so I don't have, I don't have any owls, unfortunately. There's probably some floating around here somewhere, but I have not heard or seen any. I wish I did. Barn owls, another really crazy cool looking owl, very distinctive. We don't have any other owl with this kind of coloration on it that is this distinct. Really distinct heart-shaped face with the dark eyeballs. Oh, he also has dark eyeballs. Oh, that's weird. I just now noticed that. That was one of like the coolest facts about the barred owl, but this guy also has dark eyes, so that was a lie. I'm sorry I lied to you. But that really beautiful brown outline and then the white heart-shaped face. These guys are found worldwide. So these guys are not just an America's owl like the other ones we saw, but they are found all over the world. And there are 20 to 30 subspecies or different species of the barn owl. They're here year-round. I had a cool experience with this one. I was driving to the mall with a friend at dusk, and a barn owl just swooped in front of the car. It was so, I almost had an accident because I was like, was that a barn owl? But it was really cool. These guys get their name barn owl because they had been found to be nesting in barns and abandoned buildings and chimneys. They tend to be in and around human structures. These guys mate for life, which is so super cool, really rare in the natural world that an animal mates for life. But what's also really cool is if conditions are right and these guys are eating really well, they can have 11 eggs in one brood, one clutch. That's 11 owlets. That's so many baby owls to have to feed. But if conditions are right and the prey is there, they're going to have that many, Why not if you can? Increase your species. These guys, I'm not going to make this sound because they sound like legitimately like someone is screaming, and I don't want my neighbors to call and be like, are you alive? Because it sounds like a high-pitched woman's scream. It is nothing like a hoot or any owl sound you think you know. They are screamers, but they're so lovely. And then they let out this scream and it's like, oh, what strange creature are you? But it's just this little barn owl. Long-eared owl. This one is a permanent Pennsylvania resident, but listed as threatened. So this is an owl whose numbers are decreasing. I've never seen a long-eared owl. I'm jealous of everyone who has. But these guys are North America, Europe, and Asia, so pretty wide range. About 1 foot to 1.5 feet tall. About a 3-foot wingspan, in and around there, not quite a pound. So these guys are smaller than some of the other owls we've seen. Not as small as our screech owl, but smaller than our great horned and our barred owl so far. These guys love old conifer forests, which is probably why their numbers are decreasing here, because we just do not have that much old conifer forest left. Most of our forests are mixed hardwoods, and they're not conifer. So these guys have a hard time finding the appropriate habitat to nest in. These are another one who will take old crow or hawk nests when they come across them. But again, they are threatened here in PA, so their numbers are dwindling, but they are lovely. And you can see exactly why they get the long-eared owl name, because they've got those big, long tufts. And look at those pretty eyes. They've got like those amber colored eyeballs, which are really pretty. These guys make a typical hoo, 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 like 3 times, making an owl hoot. GG says long-eared owl calls are really spooky. I've never had the pleasure to hear one in real life, but I will take your word for it. I bet they probably are. They're very haunting. That Gigi Gerben. Hi, Gigi. Well, if you have a long-eared owl, you have to have a short-eared owl. You have to have a partner to the long-eared owl. These guys are listed as endangered, so their numbers are even worse off than our threatened long-eared owl. These guys do a little better in other areas. They tend to migrate into and out of Pennsylvania frequently. They are year-round residents, but some do migrate in and out. They do have little ear tufts, but they may or may not be visible. So depending on the size of them, your short-eared owl may look like a no-eared owl. But these guys are, again, just under a pound, about 2, 3, I'm bad at math, 3 foot wingspan, a little over 2 foot tall. So not really big, but these guys have super cool, if you look at their eyes, they're bright yellow eyes, and then they have almost, it looks like a bandit's mask, like right behind their eyes. They've got those really cool dark spots that really make their eyeballs pop. Now, these guys get in trouble because they are ground nesters, which means they are not putting their eggs in a tree. They're not putting their eggs in an old nest. They're laying them directly on the ground, and they tend to prefer open country. Most open country that's left here in Pennsylvania is farmland. When you're nesting on farmland, there's a really good chance your eggs are going to get run over by something, by a horse, by a cow, by a piece of farm equipment, by somebody who doesn't see them. So by sheer fact that these guys prefer open country and they lay their eggs on the ground, not a good combination. Does not fare well for them in terms of numbers. These guys are also, when you see them, they sometimes are around like airports, and like we're talking like big, they live big open areas. So we're talking big agricultural areas. Airports is where you're most likely to see these guys. These guys have a scratchy, barky call, which I'm also not going to do and scare my neighbors. But it does also not, it kind of sounds like a almost like a frog or a toad call. It's really scratchy and like again with my owl calls. I'm sure my boyfriend downstairs is enjoying hearing my owl calls today. The very scratchy, barking, non-typical owl sound, much like the barn owl has a non-typical owl sound. Not all owls hoot, as we're seeing here. Northern Saw-whet. Oh, Gigi can probably chime in about these guys, but these are our Northern Saw-whet Owl. These are our smallest owls here in Pennsylvania, 6 to 8 inches tall. So again, a dollar bill is 6 inches. So these guys are about dollar bill size, 16 to 22 inch wingspan, so little guys, and about 2.5 to 4 ounces. So they weigh about as much as a couple slices of bread. Very, very light little guys. Now they are migratory, but they don't have a strict migratory pattern. So what's really cool is organizations around Pittsburgh are doing a ton of research and doing a ton of saw-whet owl banding to kind of learn more about where are they going and maybe why are they going there. I know Gigi's involved with that, Bob Mulvihill's involved with that, with banding our saw-whet owls and trying to determine where are they going and why. Normally when an animal migrates, it's for a very specific, like we are going A to B, and it has been ingrained in their brains and that is where they're going. But that's not the case with these guys. So we're trying to figure out, where are they going? Where are they coming from? Are they going every year? What are they doing? So really, really interesting research going on with these Northern Saw-whets. You're monitoring some short-eared owls in Washington County? Gigi, slip me a little side note where they are. I want to see one. That's my range. I want to see a short-eared owl. Oh my gosh, I would like burst with happiness. These guys prefer mixed deciduous and conifer forests. And another really interesting thing about them is they compete with for nest space with starlings and woodpeckers. Because remember, these guys aren't building a nest. So they've got to find something. Starlings tend to be cavity nesters as well. They love to nest in and around people, unfortunately, as we know. They're one of our most invasive bird species, if not the most invasive bird species that I know of in our area. And these guys often compete with them for those same nest spaces. So they don't always win versus the starlings, and that stinks because starlings are invasive and these poor little saw-whets have to fight with them, and starlings are very aggressive. So it is not uncommon for the saw-whet to lose out, which is super unfortunate. Starlings are the worst. The worst. These guys have a repeating tooting whistle call. Not very owl-like in general. Earl says, and they run in packs. The starlings, yes, where there is one, there's like 100. There's never just one or two starlings. There's always a million starlings. So you can imagine one poor little saw-whet owl up against a herd of starlings or flock of starlings. But I know I get really frustrated with them. Yeah, I know, I say the same thing. I get really frustrated with them because starlings like to take over my bird feeders and eat all the bird food that is not for them. I did not put that out for them, but I have found that putting suet out that is just plain suet that does not have any of the goodies in it tends to deter the starlings and help the woodpeckers. The woodpeckers want the suet, right? They don't care for all the junk that's in there. Starlings want the stuff that's in there. So if you get just the plain suet, they tend to stay away from it at least a little longer. So that's kind of my pro tip with the suet is put plain suet out. It keeps them, deters them a bit. It's not going to deter all of them forever, but they're at least going to, the woodpeckers are going to have a chance at the suet when you put it out that way. Because I know otherwise I was going through like multiple suets a day, and finally I just said, I'm not doing this anymore because it's all going to the starlings. And once I started putting out the plain, it started to get a little bit better. Charles, aggressive. You take your feeders down when you get more than 3 starlings. Ooh, mine are too high up. If I took them down, I'd probably never put them back up. This is how I roll. Too difficult to get up there. It's like hooked way up in my tree. I don't want to get the ladder out. So I just go out and like shoo them away a little bit. Or I let the dogs out. That tends to do it too. My dogs will chase anything away. All right, last but not least, our adorable little snowy owl. And I shouldn't say snowy because this is the fattest owl we have in Pennsylvania. Fat being a relative term though, because this owl is anywhere from 3.5 to 6 pounds. So he's anywhere from a half a pound to a whole couple pounds heavier than our tallest owl, the great horned owl. Now, this guy lives all the way up in the polar regions, Northern Asia, Canada, Arctic Circle. They roam around, they're nomadic, their range comes all the way into northern Pennsylvania in the winter. And that is because our winters are way more mild than what the winters are in the Arctic and in the polar area. So these guys come down during the winter when food is more abundant here than it is in their normal range. So we tend to get them in the wintertime coming down to enjoy our milder temperatures. And this winter, they probably thought they were at the beach because it was, not cold at all. It felt like this winter, but they are beautiful. They are lovely. They have black beaks, which is kind of unique. Females tend to have a little bit more black plumage, and that's to help them blend in a little better when they're sitting on a nest. They have kind of a quacking, barking, kind of a cross between like a duck and a frog call. It's very deep. Now, I've never been lucky enough to see one of these guys. They don't come you guys probably get them regularly because you're at the northern part of Pennsylvania, but here in the southern region, it's much more rare for them to come down this far. So I'm jealous you guys get the snowy owls. Quite jealous of that. These guys also prefer open habitats, so you're going to see them along lakes. You're going to see them in agricultural areas, airports. Not uncommon to see them sitting on a fence post in an airport because they love that big open habitat. But I love snowy owls. I think they're so cool, so beautiful. Really love their patterns too. All of the different black and white patterns they have. Oh, wow. Charles says between Toledo and Buffalo, there were 0 sightings of snowy owls on eBird this winter. That's insane. I wonder if the data is the same on iNaturalist. I'm a big iNaturalist user, so if I was gonna look, I would look there. So I wonder if there are any sightings on iNat. But that's crazy. Yeah, normally I see my bird friends posting pictures of snowy owls every winter, but you're right, I didn't see any pictures this year. Just sad day. All right, so owls and folklore, we're going to talk just a little bit more before I let you go on this Friday night. Owls have been seen as a symbol of wisdom, and that's because they were pictured with Athena, the Greek goddess of wisdom. She was often depicted with an owl, so that's kind of where they got that from. Burrowing owls were seen by some Native Americans, the Hopi Native Americans, as guardians of the underworld, because they would go between underground and above ground, which bats also had very similar connotations as well, because they go into caves underground and come back up. Snowy owl giving Raven his dark colors. There's also Native American tale of Raven sharing his dark colors with songbirds and giving them patterns. Many Native American tribes believe owls are healers, and so placing owl feathers around would dispel sickness and bring good health. And in many African nations, owls were indicative of wise, powerful shamans. So owls are seen as like a totem of shaman. Now here in Appalachia, a little bit different connotation. Interestingly enough, in the Americas, we tend to have a different view of a lot of different things, even with, spiders. Spiders have an incredibly positive outlook and positive reputation in almost all the rest of the world except Europe and America. And that's because we wrongly accused spiders of causing bubonic plague back in the day. So a lot of things here in America did not translate from our ancestors in other regions, especially owls. Here in kind of the Appalachian region, and this is something my mom believes. My mom thinks owls are bad luck. She hears an owl hooting, she's like, someone's going to die. Like instantaneously, she thinks that. But owls here often signify death or bad luck. And that can be traced back to the fact that we have a lot of Scottish and Irish folks here, and I'm Scottish and Irish, absolutely. And that's Gaelic mythology associated owls with the ruler of winter, so it's kind of a more negative connotation. And that translated over from our ancestors to us. So we see owl as like a bad time, death, bad luck. I know if you hear an owl hooting at midnight, sometimes that's a bad thing, or if you hear an owl hoot 3 times, that's bad luck. Owls can signify bad news coming from someone nearby. So there's our kind of Appalachian view of owls. Not so positive, but I love owls. I think they're fantastic and fascinating, and it's some of the coolest creatures we've got. And because I think owlets are adorable, here are some owlets for you for coming to my talk today. I always like to wrap up with a photo of something related to what we've talked about. So there are your baby owls. If anyone has any questions, please let me know. Please put them in the chat. My contact information is up on the screen for you. If you would like, if you think of questions later, or you have a question about registering for any events, feel free to send me an email. I will get back to you as soon as I can. Charles, your go-to spot is at the airport. Yeah, they love those big open areas. Charles says, when you hear an owl hoot, you think one mouse is going to die. Yeah. He was like, oh, some creature's about to be very unlucky.
Julie, this is Mary Birdsong.
Hi, Mary.
Hi, I have a bone to pick with you about cute baby birds.
Uh-oh. I can't get into baby birds. I just think they're weird. They're a little gooey.
Well, owls are very cute baby birds, but piping plovers.
Oh. Okay, I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
Are the cutest baby birds. And many shorebirds are precocial and up and running within an hour or two of their birth.
Which
And
is wild. Yeah.
yeah. And so yeah, if we want to, like arm wrestle over who has the cutest baby birds.
I
Um,
will say killdeer babies are also very adorable. They're like little poofs on legs. I've
that
seen,
well,
yeah,
killdeer or plovers. So
yeah.
yeah, so if
Any of
you
those like real skinny leg birds, like, the little poof
yes,
on top and their little
and
legs
if you
going.
don't know, their legs are pretty much almost adult size.
It looks like it too.
And so you have a tiny little bird on top of almost adult sized legs. And that's what makes them incredibly adorable. And once they dry off, they're sweet and fluffy. And I will argue all day long about cute baby birds.
Yeah, we'll fight about it. See, like baby
Okay.
songbirds, like you look at a nest and you see a baby songbird, and it's like,
Oh
gooey
no,
and
yeah.
featherless, and yeah.
They're featherless and they're vulnerable and they have little stumpy wings. And
Yeah, those are not great.
no, I totally agree. But it's like if you're going to talk about baby birds, Prescott or piping plovers is like they're the cutest ones.
Now I have to look it up and see. Now I have to look it up.
Okay. Well, despite the fact that I'm the program chair for Prescott Audubon, I'm also the lead shorebird monitor for Erie Bird Observatory.
Okay, that's a cute baby bird.
And my primary function is monitoring piping plovers.
Okay.
And so they're like my most special bird. So I'm being incredibly, personal about this. So.
That it's okay.
I'm not
my
saying,
subtitles
do we have
picked up
any
funny things.
questions? Anybody have any questions?
Jamie says apparently my subtitles were
Gigi
being
said, I
weird.
don't know, young saw-whets are pretty cute. Well, I will. We can have a smackdown, Gigi.
Bird fight, bird fight, bird fight. Any other questions?
Do you see any other questions? I'm not seeing any other questions.
I'm not seeing any other either. That was very interesting. And I'd like to know how many people besides myself were practicing owl calls after you demonstrated.
I wasn't, but I was tempted to I was tempted to like open up Sibley and start playing some of them. I know that I've never heard a barn owl screech.
Oh, it's pretty good.
And I would like to hear one. I've only seen one barn owl in my life. And I, would love to hear them, but I'm not in the right habitat.
Yeah.
And Julie, I just want to tell you that like I live in a mostly quote unquote urban environment.
Mm-hmm.
And we have heard or seen barred owls and screech owls.
Oh, there's hope for me then.
Yes, there is hope for
Yes.
you.
I
don't think we have the right habitat for a box, but just because most of my neighbors are mow the lawn, not plant shrubs kind of people. But we've had both screech and barred in the neighborhood. So
I'm jealous. I think I would just pass out if I got to see a barred owl like chilling in my tree. I do have a nice big tree in my backyard, but I definitely, I throw a rock and I can hit 5 people's houses, it's
yeah.
Compact area. But
we were lucky last year, right outside the kitchen window, maybe about 10, 12 feet away, there was a barred owl. Like, oh my gosh. And it just looked in the kitchen window, stayed there for several minutes and then flew off.
I was in Arizona in the fall for a work conference, and there were great horned owls that had taken up residents in this one tree, like they had claimed it, that was their tree, their nest, their space. And we got to go see them every day, and you could just watch them and observe them. And there were owl pellets everywhere. It was crazy, but it was really cool. And then multiple other owls would kind of hang out on top of the buildings too around dusk time, hunting lizards, because in Arizona you can't walk without kicking a lizard, essentially. And it was cool to watch them kind of stalking the lizards. And they didn't hunt too much because there were people everywhere because it was a conference, but it was cool to get to watch them. You knew exactly what they were doing. It's like, oh, they're going to get one of those lizards as soon as we all go to bed.
Someone asked, do you think do you think do you think I've lost it now. Do you think an owl could take a cat?
Absolutely. Feral and outdoor cats are one of the biggest blights on society. Like, feral and outdoor cats cause so much biodiversity loss. It's disgusting. If your cat is outside, it is a predator, and it is not a natural predator. Your cat is not a jaguar. Your cat is not a cheetah. It does not belong outside. It is not hunting and meeting some sort of feral instinct. Your cat is domesticated. It belongs in the house, right? So if your cat is outside, it is not only a predator, but it is going to become prey to a big owl. An owl absolutely will snatch a small to medium-sized cat, no problem. Part it right off.
I know that I've heard about cat collars being found in nests.
I believe it. Yeah, I totally believe it. Yeah, sorry, I get on like a giant side. Oh, I can't stand outdoor cats.
Yeah.
Makes me crazy. Makes me so crazy.
And someone posted, and I'm not sure how to deal with this. It says Leanna has a question, but I don't know what Leanna's. Oh, okay. Do you think an owl could try to get a cat? Okay, that's the question.
That was the question. Got it.
Okay. Someone said Charles Kohler had, I have a kestrel screech owl box, I guess, and had a screech owl move in. It's just about 15 feet above the ground facing the house, about 20 feet away.
Yeah. I've never had any luck with the boxes other than the bee boxes for like mason bees. But again, I don't have a very good habitat for much of anything.
You have
really to get to a box.
Yeah, I mean, I'll get squirrels in them from time to time. It's amazing that the woodpecker boxes. I remember one time I put up just a small whole woodpecker box, and it was up for about 2 weeks, and I put the ladder up. I wanted to move it, and I tapped on the side of it. I moved my head away. I said, "There's got to be nothing in there." And a little mouse-like face stuck its nose out, and it was obviously a bunch of flying squirrels that moved in. So,
that's awesome. Yeah.
But I had to clean out this winter. I cleaned out the owl box. There was a lot of leaves piled in there. I guess it was a squirrel that decided to take up residence. So you got to kick them out. And
we had some flying squirrels on one of our properties. We had bluebird boxes, and we had flying squirrels move into the bluebird box, and we had a volunteer going out to clean them out at the end of the season, like you do for bluebird boxes. And the flying squirrels came out, and it just scared the absolute bejesus out of this person.
It is utterly
expecting nothing in this box but like some leaves and a nest, and all of a sudden there are flying squirrels.
There are just so many flying squirrels everywhere, and it's just utterly amazing that, for years I'd never seen one. You just never see them, but you put up a box.
I saw a flying squirrel at the outlet mall. It had hit one of the glass sides of one of the buildings and was like stunned. But I saw a flying squirrel at the outlet mall. Yeah,
that's actually on my list of mammals to see.
Flying squirrel.
Mm-hmm.
They're pretty. Yeah, they're awesome.
Put up a small woodpecker box, and I guarantee you that within a couple of weeks you'll have a family of them.
I live in the city. I don't know if that's going to happen.
No, I think you'll find the flying squirrels in the city too.
I mean, I found one at the mall, so you never know.
Well, I live out in the woods, and we've had them in the trees around here. And I think they moved into the flicker box one year, right? Or Oh, yeah. But the worst was when they tried to move into our attic area and we had to have someone, a professional, come and get them out. because
Unfortunately, they do like to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
They're so darn cute though.
Okay.
They are
well,
cute, but
now-
not scurrying through your walls in the middle of the
Right,
night.
right.
Yeah.
There's a limit to the
Gigi suggests we shine a UV light on flying squirrels and they glow pink.
Ooh,
Scientists are discovering that a lot of mammals actually do glow now. Yeah, they're starting to figure out, like, they realized a couple did, and so they've started testing more, and they're like, wait a minute, way more mammals glow than we thought. So it's not just like the arachnids and scorpions and things like that are shining under UV light. They're realizing more do. It's crazy.
Okay,
cool.
I have a goal. Yeah.
Shining a light on a
Flying squirrel with a UV light. That's my goal. Gigi, we can like maybe work that out. Izzy suggests, we have some nice great horned owls on Presque Isle.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah, Julie, if you are unfamiliar with our area, we have Presque Isle State Park.
Hmm.
And a good number of owl species can be found there. And I think probably almost all of the species that you talked about
Wow.
at one point or another. We obviously have resident barred and great horn. We didn't have a very cold winter, so we didn't really see any snowies this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
But saw-whets are seen on a regular basis. Screech owls are regular residents. We don't have barn owls. And I've only seen one barn owl, and I'd love to see more. And this is historical. Erie County has this historical territory for them.
Mhm.
But we've lost them, and
Yeah.
they're kind of slowly working their way back. But the only barn owl I've ever seen has been in Ohio. So
Okay.
I know that other people may have seen them in Erie County, but they're very few and far between, and we'd love to bring them back.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got a lot of agricultural areas where I'm at, so seen them a little bit more frequently.
So
Izzy asks
Izzy asked if owls are nocturnal, how do you get to see them?
they are very active at dusk as well. So if you're out at dusk, you have a good chance of hearing or seeing one. But also you can see them just resting during the day too. In their roost, you can see them. The barred owl I saw was during the day. The barn owl I saw was dusk. So you can see them other than nighttime. Yeah.
Yeah, and great horns tend to come out earlier in the evening. Izzy, I've actually, this was in Missouri, but I've actually had barred owls calling during the day. And I'm like, well, what the heck is that?
What are you doing?
What are you doing calling in the middle of the day? I mean, it was like late morning. So I'm like,
wow.
why are you doing that?
He was a partier. He was up all night. He's just going
Yeah.
to bed.
and I in the pine tree areas, Izzy, are a lot of opportunities for saw-whets and long ears. So yeah, and as someone said, I have several barred owls on my property. They like to wake me up between 12 and 1 a.m.
I have to laugh because my best friend, gosh, this was probably like just last month, maybe January. I've lost all sense of time, but she sent me a recording one night of an owl hooting outside of her window. Like, what is this? It hooted for hours outside of her window. Like, her dogs were on edge. She couldn't sleep. I was like, yeah, it's mating season. It's
Yeah.
time. That's what they're doing. He's looking for a lady. He's calling. He's gonna keep calling until he finds what he wants. Yeah, that made me laugh. She's sent me the recording. I was like, it's a great horned owl. Yep.
so I have a
had a-
question. Do female owls generally not vocalize?
I don't think so. I mean, to my knowledge, they're not as vocal if they vocalize at all. I know cardinals, female cardinals are very vocal, but I don't believe that female owls are very
Oh,
vocal.
no. Great
Are
horns,
they?
great horns duet.
Okay, so the lady great horns are singing back. Maybe it was
Yeah.
a lady then. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know the specifics, but I do know that a lot of owls duet.
Okay, so we got singers then.
And I don't know, like I said, I don't know the particulars for each species. But yeah.
I've heard that from time to time too. You'll hear one sort of closer by, and then you wait a couple of seconds, and you can barely hear another one
Yeah.
sort of
Where are
echoing.
you? Here I am. Where are you? Here I am.
Exactly. Yeah, they do that kind of duetting. They, call to each other. So
Well, do owls vocalize territorial calls the way like a songbird does to say, don't come over here, I've got this area?
I don't know. I would assume so.
Okay.
I would assume they're territorial. Yeah.
Okay. Gigi
yeah,
says,
that's an excellent question, actually, because I don't know the answer to that.
well, Fred says barred owls will answer each other. And Gigi says the higher pitch call is the female with
Great horn.
Great horn.
Great horned owls.
Yeah. And
They do
okay.
vocalize. Yeah. I assumed they would. I figured they would probably be territorial.
Hmm.
I'm so glad you've joined us, Gigi. I haven't seen you since Alyssa's wedding. So
That's been a while.
yeah.
I haven't made it out to an owl banding in quite a while.
Hmm.
And have you have you ever, well, I know you've come up here for banding, but you've never.
Gigi says she can't do audio, but hello.
Oh, okay. Huh, that's interesting. I'm sorry you can't do audio.
I know Powder Mill did some Saw-whet owl
Mhm.
banding in the fall.
Yeah. A
I
lot of
think
good owl research going on.
Yeah, you
Oh,
got.
yeah, well, yeah, and Bob
Yeah.
Mulvihill does a
Mhm.
lot of saw-whet banding in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, they've had to cancel a lot of it this year because the weather has not been great. So they
Yeah.
haven't been out banding as much.
Right.
I always
know,
see his
tonight it
posts
was
that-
canceled. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Always see his posts that the winds weren't right or it's raining just a little too hard for them to be
Mhm.
on the move. So
Yeah.
it's not been a great banding season thus far, I don't think, but weather has not cooperated.
Okay. Well, my goodness, what a great night. Do we have any other questions? I'm having trouble with my chat box because I unfortunately popped it out.
Oh, no, there's nothing in there recently.
Okay,
Yeah.
and I'm having trouble. Oh, Julie said something about her great horned owls are the terror of her purple martin colony.
They will eat birds. Yeah.
Yeah, I have watched one creep up on the ground under the martin house. It was at dusk and I thought it was a cat at first, then realized that it was a great horned owl.
So,
So
Julie,
that's interesting.
did you chase it away, Julie?
I've had a hawk hunt out of my bird feeders before. I've watched that happen a few times.
Sure. Oh yeah, I've had lots of
Yeah.
sharp-turning coopers.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm curious, Julie, did you try to chase it away? And you can turn on your mic if you want to.
Yes, Julie chased it away.
She wrote in the chat now. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that was an amazing night. We had poles, short poles. They're about 3.5 foot tall at different areas in the yard because the bluebirds like to perch on them. And I saw this thing creeping across the yard heading for the martin houses. And I went, oh my gosh, is it a cat? And then it hopped up on this little 3 foot pole and I knew what it was right away. And of course, then I shoot him away. But I have, okay, you know how you've seen in used car lots, those air bouncers, they're tubes.
Mhm. Yep.
I have 2 of them that I run underneath my martin colony all summer long from 10 o'clock at night until like
Wow.
at dawn, because the great horned owls, about not last year, but the year before, the attacks were so bad that I had, I don't know, it was like 14 different nest cavities that were abandoned. The birds just freaked out and left.
Wow,
So-
that's wild.
Yeah, I have to be really, really diligent. But last year it wasn't so bad, so maybe they moved on. And the one night I pulled in the driveway and the neighbors had abandoned the property and was foreclosed on. It was really bad and there was rats. So I come in the yard the one night, right? And I looked over toward the neighbor's property and there's a high dead snag and here's this great horned owl sitting on it. I come in and got my husband and I said, come out, they've got to take a look at this. There's this owl sitting up on this tree by the neighbor's, decrepit property.
Mhm.
So we sit and watched him and he flew down and the next thing I knew, he came up and he had a rat. And I
Ooh.
went,
Wow.
yep, natural rodent control. I wasn't happy about
Yeah.
that. He just has to stay away from my martin colony.
You need to have all the rats he wants.
Absolutely.
Well, Julie, where did you buy those puffy flowing things? I don't know what the name of them are.
The guy who I buy all of my martin products from, Troyer's Birds Paradise down in Conneautville, he sells them through the catalog. So I
Okay.
had the one and I ran it. And then I had the year that I had went to 3 houses and I don't think it was enough coverage. And the house that was more off to the side where I put that bouncy thing, I call them the bouncing scarecrow. That was the house that was predated so badly. So then the next year I went and bought another one. So there was more coverage because they make a whooshing sound at night and there's motion and activity. But yeah, some people who have martin colonies actually put wire mesh cages over their whole entire colony so the birds can get through the cages, but it keeps the owls out. They are like really bad when it comes to martin colonies.
Who knew?
Yeah, I didn't,
I
but I
didn't
learned the hard
realize
way.
that either.
Yeah, they are just horrible. I was told that the bigger the colony, the bigger the chance you're going to have owls that are attracted, because what happens when the little ones get to the point where they're starting, halfway to fledging, they start making noises and getting restless and kind of carrying on after dark. And the sound is what attracts the owls. They hear it. And so, the bouncing scarecrow, the sound of that too helps to camouflage the sounds of the youngsters in the nests. But yeah, I fight the starling and sparrow and owl wars every year for my colony, but it's worth it.
Oh, you should put up, try putting up a white noise generator. See if that does anything. Just a thought.
Yeah, that's an idea.
Hmm.
I'll try anything.
Yeah,
Save my-
it basically, it raises the noise. There's a signal to noise threshold and it raises the noise level. So basically the signal, which is the little birds chirping, has a hard time getting through anywhere because there's this like white noise. So
Right. I've seen small ones that you can use like in your house to,
yeah, same concept. Yeah, it just
Okay.
raises it smothers it brings the noise level higher, so there's less of a signal for anyone to hear. And I guess it would work for owls too. It works for humans. But
Oh,
yeah,
cool. Nice idea.
and I don't think it would bother the birds because it's just it's like it's like static on a, I don't know. Nobody uses radios anymore, but
I do.
If you're old enough, like me, you can remember what it used to sound like.
Well, Julie, I do have to share one thing with you about owls.
Yes.
Where I live is about 25 miles south of Lake Erie, a little bit to the west of Erie and south. And when we moved out here, it's been almost 43 years now. It was an 80-acre cornfield that was divided off into 10-acre plots. So it was this huge open area. And the first 5 to 7 years we were here, we had short-eared owls, like a flock of them every winter. In fact, they landed on the kids' picnic table. There was 5 of them lined up. And one time we had a snowy owl that camped out in our backyard for 5 days.
Oh, that's
So-
so cool.
It was amazing. I got within probably 10 to 12 foot of him sitting on the picnic table, and he didn't even care. He just sat there and looked at me. So yeah, I
And
hope
you
you get
also
your
had
chance.
upland sandpipers, if I recall.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
Oh,
That
wow.
it was amazing. I mean, because it was just a big open field, who knew?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's what got me hooked on birding. Birds in my yard I'd never seen before.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen a new bird in my yard for quite a while. I get the typical backyard suspects.
Well, hopefully if it gets cold enough another winter and you come up to Presque Isle, you'll get a chance to see the snowies. They are amazing.
I hope so. I hope
I
so.
hope you do too. It would
Yeah,
be wonderful.
was it the cold or lack of lemmings? I've heard speculation that the bird flu was particularly bad, and it kind of knocked out a lot of birds. Does anybody have any
Haven't
information?
heard anything about it. Yeah.
No, I haven't
I
either.
just kind of think this winter because of the lack of ice and the lack
I
of
mean,
snow.
I mean, I think it's I mean, from what I've read, it's lemming pop. It's like if
Lemming
there's-
driven.
Yeah, I mean, if there was a lot of lemmings the year before, then that means there's a lot of kids and territorial disputes, and so they're going to come down. I don't know. I'm not sure that anyone does, but yeah, there was nothing this year, and I looked every day.
No, I don't know if we've seen any snowies here in Erie.
Well, from on eBird from December until now, there was one reported somewhere out in Toledo, and there was one in Buffalo, and nothing in between. So nothing.
I'll have to
Owls
look at
are-
iNaturalist and see if there was any reported on iNat.
Yeah.
Owls are cool.
But it's been an incredibly mild winter here in Erie. So, and I've had snowy owls out of Gull Point through May of years. So I don't think that's going to happen this year at all. Because we haven't seen any at all. So
I did see a tundra swan though, and they will go to the same places. I think.
Well, yeah, we tend to have a lot of tundra swans here in the winter. We don't. We had one winter where they were flying over our house on a regular basis, which was really cool. But this winter we haven't had any that I know of. I just might not have been outside at the right time, but we certainly have had some on Lake Erie Bay has been open all winter, which is really unusual. And the lake has been open all winter, which is really unusual.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of birds are just, doing what they want, where they want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. When there's ice, you'll tend to get more ducks congregating together. Yeah, it was Moraine State Park that I saw the tundra swans, and there's recently in Pittsburgh there's been snow goose or two popping up at various different places. They're really cute kind of things. They tend to hang out with the Canadians, and so you'll see all these Canadian the Canada geese, and then the little tiny ones. And I went out a day or two. It had snowed, and it was really hard. It was really hard to see the snow goose. So
Any other questions? Yeah.
Any other questions? Because we're definitely,
Nothing more in the chat. So
Oh, Gigi does say, quick look on iNat, no snowies in PA this year.
yeah.
Wow.
Julie said, time to go. Thanks for a great presentation.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you.
That was very
You're welcome.
interesting. Yeah, you're a very good speaker.
Oh, thank you.
Wait, we always post these on our YouTube channel and encourage people on our Facebook and Instagram page to go ahead and check them out. So
Yeah. Yeah.
you having people look up your presentation. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, I shared AlleghenyLandTrust.org/events. We do at least one webinar a month for those who are too far north for our programming, but you can still engage with some webinar programs. And
You guys need to engage, you guys need to expand your programs and like have field trips to Presque Isle.
I know. So I'm the president-elect of the Pennsylvania Association of Environmental Educators. I think in 2024, our conference is going to be, no, in 2025, our conference will be up there. So
There
hopefully
you
we'll
go.
take a field trip because we rotate. So next year's Poconos and then it'll be this side. So we'll probably be up that way for that. We'll
What-
hopefully bring some.
Yeah, well, let us know. I mean, Presque Isle Audubon, or for me, Erie Bird Observatory, because that's my employer.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do something for you.
Yeah, that'd
there.
be an awesome field trip. We try to take field trips to different local environmental organizations, usually on Tuesday morning. And it's always in March too. So
Yeah, we can
good
do
birding
that.
time generally. Yeah,
Okay,
that'd be great.
super. Thank you so much, Julie.
Yeah, no problem. I'm happy to talk about whatever, whenever.
Yeah, happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone.
Yeah.
You guys too.
All right. Well, good night, everybody. It was great to see and hear this presentation.
All
Bye
right.
now.
Thanks,
Thank you
everyone. Have a
again.
great night.
You too.
Bye.